I worked the evening shift at the stables. I still don't know what I saw that night. The night I worked the evening shift, the sky was gray and heavy. My new boots squeaked the whole walk to the barn. When I got there, a barrel-chested dog came running out and started barking at me. I wasn't intimidated. Rudy's big as a bear, and I stuck out my hand so he could sniff me. "Come here, Amos." A voice called, and the dog lumbered inside. "Hey, how's it going?" said a tall butch woman. She wore thick work gloves and coveralls, and was leading a brown horse to its stall. "You must be Maeve." "I'm all right," I said, watching her take off the horse's bridle. "Are you Helen?" "That's me, but you can call me Hell." The stall door whined on its hinges as Hell closed it. "So, training." She clapped her gloved hands together. "Got any experience working with horses?" "No, actually, but I'm happy to learn. I'll be honest with you, it's hard work, especially the evening shift. But you'll get better with time." "What's wrong with the evening shift?" Hell paused, staring off into the distance. "It's just different responsibilities." She opened up another stall. "This here is Walter. I'm gonna teach you how to muck his stall so you can get started right away." Walter was pale white with grayish spots. He nickered softly when Hell ducked into his stall. "You're gonna need a pitchfork and a wheelbarrow. All you do is sift the hay and look for the dirty stuff. When in doubt, toss it." She scooped some soiled hay into a wheelbarrow to demonstrate. "If you need to move him, just give him a firm push, and never sneak around his backside or you'll get kicked. You gotta let him know you're there. Like this." Hell placed a hand on Walter's hindquarters while she moved behind him. I nodded along, throwing in a cursory MHM or got it to show Hell I was listening. It looked easy enough and I was eager to try. "When your wheelbarrow is full, take it to the pile and dump it." Hell pointed to a mound of hay outside, steaming in the cold. "Remember to refill the beds with fresh hay." She showed me where the hay bales were and which ones were for eating and bedding. "Once you're done mucking, you're gonna feed and water the horses. There's a whiteboard by the office that tells you what each horse eats. Walter and Hercules get alfalfa, and Duchess gets steamed hay. It's very important to remember that. Messes with their stomachs if they get the wrong food." Next, Hell told me how to refill the water buckets. "Be sure to hook them on the right way. The horses can catch their eyelid if you don't." "This all seems doable," I told her. "Can I try a stall now?" Hell chuckled. "There's a few more things you have to know before you start." "Okay, what is it?" "Like I said, the evening shift is different. I need you to count the horses when you're done. Make sure every stall has a horse. If anyone is missing, they're probably outside. Let me know and I'll bring them in." I glanced around the barn. There were 8 stalls in all. A lot to muck, especially for a beginner. I was ready to get calluses on my hands. "And be careful around the woods." Hell got that far away look in her eyes again. "It gets dark here." The stables bordered a dense tangle of woods. I'd smoked there a few times, but I never went very deep. "Sounds like common sense," I said. Hell handed me her pitchfork. "Ready to start?" "Ready. If you need anything, come get me. I'll be in the office." I started with Walter's stall. When I stepped in, he started sniffing me. "My coat isn't food," I scolded him when he lipped my zipper. I spotted some shit in the corner and began scooping. Working next to Walter complicated things. I hesitated to push him around, worrying he'd bite or kick me. Luckily, he was docile and shuffled aside every time. My wheelbarrow quickly filled up. I took it to the pile a few yards from the barn. The acrid smell stung my nostrils. Emptying the wheelbarrow took some effort. I couldn't get out all the hay in one try, so I used my pitchfork for the rest. Then I heard a noise from the distance. A low whistle, like blowing into something hollow. It sounded like it was coming from the woods. I wasn't idiotic enough to go investigate it. I took the wheelbarrow back to the barn, ignoring the fear humming through me. The next step was replacing the hay. With a pair of rusty scissors, I cut open the thick cords binding the bales together. I grabbed 1 flake, 2 flakes, and shook them vigorously around the stall until I couldn't see the bottom of the bed. After that, I had to feed Walter. He got 2 flakes of alfalfa, which scratched up my hands. Walter began chewing at it before I could even lay it down. Whoa, be patient. While he was occupied, I emptied his water. The buckets were heavy. I felt a twinge in my back as I carried them, and knew I'd be sore the next morning. I dumped them out on the pavement like Hell said. Again, the same whistle came from the woods. I could swear it sounded closer. Walter snorted loudly behind me. It's okay. I tried soothing him. It was probably a wild animal like a fox or coyote. A good reason to avoid the woods. I stepped back in the stall and saw the fresh hay was stained. Walter had pissed while I was gone. Damn it, Walter. I just replaced that. He was standing right against the wall. His ears were held back, and he looked tense. I went to the office to update Hell on my progress. I finished Walter's stall. What should I do next? Hell was standing at a whiteboard drawing up a chart. Just do Duchess for now. You're still training. Once you get more experience, I'll work you harder. Duchess was the brown horse I saw earlier. Her coat was short and sleek. Hey girl, I greeted her. She had the same anxious stance as Walter, and her stall was even dirtier. Most of the hay was soaked with piss. I got to clearing it out. As I did, I thought about Gertie, her peeling paint plastered with dozens of bumper stickers. $25 an hour did seem ridiculous for mucking stalls, but with that kind of pay, I'd be able to diagnose the mysterious rattling sound she made whenever I drove too fast. Not to mention I could visit the salon and touch up my blue-streaked hair, which had faded to a seasick greenish hue. The thought motivated me to keep dutifully cleaning Duchess's stall. I followed the routine of emptying my wheelbarrow. At the hay pile, I listened for the whistling noise, but didn't hear it. The stables were quiet. No sound but the rustling of hay. The steamed hay was kept in a wheelbarrow on the other side of the barn. I went to grab a few flakes. Amos started growling behind me. Manners, Hell called from the office. He was sitting in the aisle, eyes fixated on something I couldn't see. His tail was tucked between his legs. Probably some wild animal again, I decided. Rudy always fussed at the foxes out in the yard. I scattered the steamed hay, dumped Duchess water buckets, filled them with the hose. The stall looked luxurious for what it was. I'm finished with Duchess too, I told Hell. Great, do the head count and you're good to go. I walked along the aisle, making sure there was a horse in each stall. Walter, Duchess, Hercules, Luna, Barnaby, Captain, Bonnie, Gandalf. 8 horses, every stall occupied. Amos started growling again. His throaty rumbles turned into barks. Around me, the horses whinnied, sharply blowing out air. Walter banged on the door with his hoof like he was trying to break out. Duchess was shrieking. I looked around to see what was disturbing them. Outside, there was another horse. It stumbled like a newborn foal as it aimlessly circled the pasture. Its legs seemed too thin and too long for its body. I could see the outline of every rib. The whites of its eyes were visible from every angle. They looked almost human. I thought I heard it faintly whinnying, but as I listened closer, it sounded more like whistling. Maeve! Hell shouted. Suddenly, she was pulling me away from the pasture, gripping my arm so hard it hurt. Fuck! She swore under her breath. I should have told you. Told me what? My heart thudded in my chest. You counted the horses, right? Yeah, they're all in their stalls. We only have 8. Hell said breathlessly. A cold feeling stirred through me. Goosebumps budded all over my body. Hell hustled me into the office and locked the door. It had 3 bolts and chains. Amos sat at her feet, whining constantly. It should be fine if the stalls are locked. Did you lock them? Yes, I did. The horses kept crying outside. Good. We can't lose another one. I didn't dare ask Hell what she meant. In fact, I didn't stay for another shift. I can't even go near the stables to this day without feeling nauseated. I don't know what I saw that night, but I understand one thing. Whatever was out there, it wasn't a horse.